A well-laned Shir Ha-Shirim, I think, is far and away my favorite Pesach ritual. Probably outright the highlight of the liturgical calendar overall. It's just so good. But I wanted to reflect for a couple minutes on what it means to read Shir Ha-Shirim on Pesach this year in particular, and try to see what meaning it might have for us. My background, Chazal, broadly speaking, attribute the authorship of three biblical books to Shlomo HaMelech, Kohelet, Mishlei, and Shir Ha-Shirim. But within that view, there's actually a fair amount of subtlety, dispute, and confusion as to exactly which one was written and what the relationships between the various works are, and what the relationships between the various works and Shlomo HaMelech's biography is in particular. I think that there's one school of thought that says that Amra Kol Chad V'Chad B'fnei Atzmo, that Shlomo HaMelech wrote each one independently, sequentially at its own time. I think the most famous reading along these lines is Rabbi Yonatan. He says, Amar Shir Ha-Shirim Kasav Tchila. Shlomo wrote Shir Ha-Shirim first, ve'achar kach Mishlei, ve'achar kach Kohelet, then Mishlei, then Kohelet. And Ma'aseh Rabbi Yonatan Miderech Eretz. He says this sequence comes from the way of the world. It just makes sense. He says, K'shadam nar omer dimrei zemer. When a person when they're in their youth, that is when they sing songs of exuberance and vigor and intoxication with love and life. And that's what Shir Ha-Shirim is. Shir Ha-Shirim is an ode to the joys of youth and springtime and the open horizons and limitless possibilities of fresh flourishing. Higdil Omer Divrei Mashalot. When Shlomo grows older, he becomes more mature and has more wisdom to share, prudence, thoughtfulness, and so he teaches wisdom through parables. Hizkin, when Shlomo is older, Omer Divrei Havalim. That's when he's grown old and a bit more sober and melancholic, and he's become disillusioned with the pleasures of the world, and that is when he tells us that life's apparent pleasures are meaningless, and we should therefore resolve to focus on what truly matters. The message overall and this approach to the three books is that these three books represent three fundamentally incommensurate moods, three different stages of life. They couldn't have been written by one person at one time because they're so radically, irreducibly different from each other. But this actually, I think, is not the dominant reading among Chazal. I think it's a minority view. The majority position, the dominant view, is that Shlomo HaMelech wrote all three books in one single integral episode of divine inspiration. There are a bunch of different versions of the story in Shir Ha-Shirim Rabbah, but there's some backstory, some episode of Shlomo's life, and then the refrain is Miyad Sharta Alav Ruach HaKodesh Bi'amra Shir Ha-Shirim Kohelet Umishlei, or whatever the order. There's immediately at some point Shlomo was overtaken by the divine spirit, and he said all these books in one fit of inspiration. This does provoke some confusion, at least for one figure, and for the Midrash overall. Masnisa Rabbi Chia Rabba, figure Rabbi Chia Rabba, Pliga Od in Shmaita, Masnisa Amra Shlashan Katzav Ka'achat. There we have two teachings in the name of Rabbi Chia Rabba. One of them seems to say that they're written all at once. There's another tradition in the name of the same Rabbi Chia Rabba that they were all written independently. So, it's not only there are two possibilities, but it is one figure. Rabbi Chia Rabba was having trouble. Either he changed his mind or actually had some kind of a synthesized view where it seemed to make sense to say that these had to be separate books, and it also seemed to make sense that they had to be one book. And that's what I want to try to lead into a little bit. I think how we've all got an incredible range of emotions and moods and feelings and just ways of being that we're all going through right now that are just deep and real and powerful in our souls, and they're all there. We are joyful and happy, celebrating the time of our freedom, and we remember against the background of all of our good, hopefully good, positive Pesach memories, and we're ready to celebrate again the joys of springtime and flourishing. and freedom and redemption. But we're also sad and melancholic. The world is terrible and awful and bizarre and strange, and we're missing so many people we love that we can't be together with. And it's also a deeply melancholic time. And I think the message of these attempts at reading these three works is that we should recognize that these feelings and these moods are all real. They're all different, and we have to be able to lean into each one. We've got to be able to feel the happiness, and we've got to be able to feel the sadness. Maybe not, maybe in sequence. Maybe we need to give them each their own space, and to let them be real and present. But also, there's something to be said for the attempt to weave them all together, to hold them all in our hands and realize that the same person can be happy and sad and excited and melancholic. That it can be one person in one episode of divinely inspired authorship where they can give expression to the full range of human emotions in a grand, crazy, divinely inspired symphony of the human experience. And I think that should be our goal. We should feel each in its own place. We should recognize, name, lean into the sadness and melancholy, and we should lean into and celebrate the joy. And we should try to do the work of figuring out what it means to celebrate those all as one human being with a crazy set of worlds inside them. So wishing everyone a wonderful Chag Kasher V'Sameach, missing you all, and hope we're all together again soon.